Hello everyone, my name is Franco Pucci. I'm the technical consultant for the STS Association. Welcome to Training Video Series 2, where we will explore the companion specifications. I hope you find these videos helpful. In this video, we will look at the STS531-X companion specifications. Please refer to the relevant document for detailed descriptions. The STS531-X documents are the documents used for conformance testing for STS compliance. Vending system compliance, in other words, a standalone point of sale. Token server compliance, this is usually a web-based token generator with a security module attached to it. And to that, you can access via thin clients sitting elsewhere. Payment meter compliance, that's a standard prepayment meter, and security module compliance. Security module compliance we will do whenever there's a firmware change on a security module or a new security module is introduced into the field. These documents are published by the STS Association periodically. Changes to the tests from either the addition of new tests or small issues found in the tests during conformance testing may require the documents to be updated. Please always use the latest edition of these documents. You may remember the specifications map from a previous video. There it is. Essentially, this is a document that shows you all specifications related to STS. On the far left, you have all the IEC specifications, and that's the 62055, 41, 51, and 52. Those are only available from the IEC web store and not downloadable from the STS website. The second column shows you all specifications relating to a payment meter for all utilities and currencies. Under, for example, EAO7, if your meter supports EAO7, you will see three documents: STS531-4, STS531-5-0, and STS531-6-1-07. The 07 means that it's in fact EAO7 that we're testing, and these are all entity type D, E, and F. You can see the entity type there, D, E, and F. If you're doing EA11, the only document that really changes here is the STS531-6-1-11. Okay. And then you have other companion specifications that you may elect to support. If you do support any of these, then obviously you can also need to refer to these documents and any interface specifications and common specifications used for all the products. Okay, so look at your product, see which specifications are required, and then download those using that little tab on the right of the document. That takes you directly to the downloads page. You can download a copy and you can save it or print it. Okay, then the same thing applies to a point of sale. You have the list of documents below, the token server, the security module, and even a key management center. So please look at this map, select the documents you want, download them, print them, and then do your tests according to these documents. Right, the STS531-X documents contain tests for both mandatory and optional functionality. Look at the test in question to see if it is an optional test. If it's not specifically stated as optional, then it must be done. It's mandatory. These documents test for 256 possible variants of payment meters and vending systems. So please fill in. There's a lot of combinations, so please fill in all the documents correctly so we know which variant of system that we are testing for. The documents will test for conformance to the requirements of IEC 62055-41, 51, and 52. All the documents refer to an entity type. And this table shows you all the entity types. Entity types A, B, and C all relate to a point of sale. And to the right, you will see which documents are related to the entity type A, B, or C product. Then Entity types D, E, and F all relate to a meter. And once again, it shows you to the right which documents are relevant. Entity type H is a security module device. Entity type H1 is a token server. And entities type I and J are the two VTC ports, both of which we've looked at previous videos in the series, VTC07 being a port type A and B, and VTC08 being the DLMS COSIM port. Note that both entity types I and J are not yet published. They're still work in progress and under beta test. Entity type I may never be published since it is not used in the field. How are the documents structured? Well, right at the beginning of the document, you have the equipment to be supplied. And under that, it tells you how many samples you need to ship and how to set them up. Next in the documents are the tests, all listed one after the other, and they are numbered STS531-X to STS531-XNN, some number, the last test, where X is the entity type, and the tests run from 01 to whatever the last test is. Right at the end of the document, there's a set of annexures. These annexures are information required for testing. So please look at them, fill them in correctly, because that's the only way the test house will know how your meter responds to certain things, and also which tests are supported or which features are supported and which are not. Here's an example of the equipment to be supplied that's found at the front of the document. What it says there is the test house needs 3 meters loaded with a DRTK of all ones. The meter's entire TID stack must be preloaded with a value of 5845A1. This TID corresponds to a token issue date and time of 2004-01 at 9:05 in the morning. The meters shall have an available credit balance of 0 units, and the meters shall be referred to as entity type F, UUT0107, UUT0207, and UUT0307, because this is an EA07 meter. If it was an EA11 meters, then that 07 would be replaced with an 11. Okay. If the payment meter stores its manufacturing date, the meter submitted must have this date set to the 1st of January 1993 at midnight. The meters will either support a TCT01 or TCT02. If you have a meter that supports both, you need to set 2 sets of meters. One set will be tested according to TCT01, and the second set will be tested according to TCT02. But that's a set of 2 certification tests that you must submit meters for and pay for, because the tests are different. And please note that the meters must be submitted in an untampered state. So when they get to us, they must not be in a tampered state. And then it shows you which keys are used during the tests, going from DRTK1, which is all ones, down to DUTK2, which is 373737. Please make sure you fill in these documents accurately. It's critically important. Now, if we have a look at a test, this test in particular is CTSF02, DRT coded accepting a credit token. What does it tell us? First of all, it's an entity type F, because you see the F in the CTSF, and it's test number 2 because of the O2 following the F. Okay, so entity type F, test number 2, and it shows you it's a test for a DRTK coded meter accepting a credit token. Okay. Then, if you look at the table, the step number is step 1, so it's the first step in that series, in that test. The instruction says power up UUT01, not UUT02 or 03, 01. So make sure your meters are labeled. Then it says insert the following token using a DRTK1. Now these tokens are already generated for you using DRTK1, so you don't have to worry about that. The token we're going to enter for an electricity meter is a 0.1 kilowatt hour credit token, and it starts with 5862. Of course, if you're submitting a water meter for testing, then it would be the second token shown there, 5503, etc. These tests cater for all electricity, water, gas, and time meters, as well as electricity currency, water currency, gas currency, and time currency. So select the one that you actually submitted and only enter that token. Then the expected result from all of this after entering the token is that the payment meter or the customer interface unit should indicate the acceptance of the token. Of course, we need to know what your acceptance message on the display of the meter is, because some messages may be in a different language, some may be just symbols. That's why we need those documents filled in correctly. In those documents, you will tell us what does your display show when a token is accepted. We will look for that and make sure that that is what comes up on this test. If it doesn't come up, the test is failed. The available credit in the meter shall be incremented from 0 to the specified value of the token. Again, your meter should have been sent in a state where it has 0 credit in. Once we put in that 0.1 kilowatt hour token, if it's an electricity meter, the meter will show 0.1. After a period of time, the payment meter or customer interface terminal should indicate that it is ready to accept the token. Once again, we need to know how it shows that it's ready to accept the token. That test, by the way, was not optional. It did not state optional, therefore it's mandatory to do the test. This test, however, is slightly different. This is STS531-X. Again, it's entity type F, test number 8, DCTK coded meter accepting maximum power limit token. Okay, now if you note, it says under the title, note, this test is only required for electricity meters that support this feature. So some meters may not support a maximum power limit token, in which case you don't do the test. If you look at step number 1, the instruction, it says, if the manufacturer's response in table 1, now table 1 belongs to those annexures at the end of the document, indicates that the initiate meter test 7 is supported, then insert this token. Okay, so that gives you the option. If you don't support it because you've stated that in table 1, then don't do this test. So for an 11-digit DRN meter, you put in that first token starting with 4 zeros. For a 13-digit DRN meter, you put in the second token starting with 0115. Your meter may even support both of them. That's fine. Then you can insert any one you want. And that is initiate PM or payment meter test number 7, which is a display maximum power limit. Otherwise, skip this step, okay, if your meter does not support it, and go on to the next step. The expected result is that the payment meter or custom interface terminal shall display the maximum power limit. This test is optional since it does give an option. Okay, there's an example of annexure A1, entity type F, additional information, and it shows you, for example, it asks you for your manufacturer code you've been allocated. Is it a polyphase meter, yes or no? And then look at number 3. Does the meter support maximum power load tokens? The test I've just shown you. If the answer is yes, then do the test. If the answer is no, then skip the test. And it goes on like this for a number of pages. Please answer these carefully. These annexures need to be completed and sent with the samples. If we haven't got the annexures, we can't start the tests. Which edition of the documents do I use? Always use the latest published edition. Consult the website to see which is the latest. When a new edition is published, the STS Association will usually give a 1-year grace period before the latest edition becomes compulsory to use. So if you're in the middle of development and you're working on, say, 1.9.4, and 1.9.5 is published in June, the same month, you can still use 1.9.4, finish your development and get your product certified. However, from June next year, you can no longer use 1.9.4, you have to use 1.9.5. The changes made to these documents are usually small errors that are highlighted by members, or rarely we can add an additional test. Look at the change history at the beginning of the document to see what has changed. Before sending your product for certification testing, make sure you've used the latest edition of the test documents. Run a full set of tests yourselves and make sure that you pass the test before sending the product for testing. Otherwise, if you don't pass the test and we find a failure, you've got to take the products back, send us a whole new set of products, and possibly pay for another certification test. Pay the test fees before completion of the tests. The certificate will only be issued once the test fees are received. The test house will not ship samples back. You must either collect them or ask that they be destroyed. 90% of people ask that they be destroyed because it's just very expensive to send them back. If you're not sure, ask. Typical problems that a test house encounters during certification testing: the products are not labeled correctly. Please label your products as instructed in the test documents. Initial values are not set up correctly. This usually results in a second set of sample having to be delivered because we cannot test it. We don't know what the meter key, or it's set up to a different meter key. We have no idea. The products are not tested to the specifications before sending them for conformance testing. Do yourselves a favor and test them first, then you'll know that they'll pass. Once again, if you're not sure, please ask. This brings us to the end of this part of the video series. I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope to see you for the rest of the video series. Goodbye and see you again soon.